Dr. Mark Changizi here with your Science Moment. Now, often our censors, the censorial authoritarian folks who defend censorship, and they're all over the world, a great majority of the world believes that censorship of misinformation is crucial and important and just and righteous. What they will often tell you is that, look, if they're right, then of course they should be censoring more strongly the more radical voices, right? And of course, the voices that are more radical in their opposition. That's who they think. Those are the evil people. Those are the people that are deeply wrong and dangerous. So surely the people that are more deeply wrong and dangerous should be even more censored. They have greater justification for being censored. Their kind of misinformation. But in fact, what you'll find censors doing is that they will typically not censor the most radical opposition. And in fact, the way that you know this is that they often amplify the most radical opposition. In fact, we all do it. We all have a tendency to find those that are opposed to us in the socio-political community that's our opposition. And when the most absurd statements that they make, I'll amplify it, right? And I try to avoid this kind of thing, but we all have a tendency to do this. We're doing the opposite of censorship. We're amplifying the most extreme voices. So although sometimes censorship during the Biden administration, during COVID, and the censorship of many of the voices on the anti-lockdown side sometimes certainly went off after some very extreme pandemic sorts of voices. But in general, the incentives and the motivations and the selection pressures on censors are to censor the more reasonable voices of the opposition. Right? That's who they really want to censor. In fact, I don't have data on this, but the folks that were disproportionately censored among us anti-lockdowners were the more reasonable voices, not the pandemic depopulation. Klaus Schwab did this to us to put chips in us to do a great reset. The folks that they really want to, that it's beneficial for them to censor, are the folks that are not extreme like that. They're folks who have good scientific principles. They want to censor the reasonable, scientific, ethical, philosophically capable voices. That's who they want to censor. And that is, in fact, who they did censor. So, just to summarize, we can see, in some sense, that they don't want to just censor the most extreme voices. They're not interested, per se, in censoring misinformation, because if they did, they would be clamping down just on the most extreme voices, or disproportionately on the most extreme voices of the opposition. But that's not, in fact, what they do. They tend to amplify those voices. They amplify those voices to humiliate the opposition, and who they really censor are the more reasonable ones, which shows that their real purpose is to censor the opposition, not to censor the extreme, dangerous voices. And that was your Science Moment.